And we are live. Yay! And talking about Naughts and Crosses.
Nothing is also known as black and white, as Mike Happy.
So I can't help but call it Naughts and Crosses.
Yeah, well, that's the original title.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know it by anything else until I think this time around when I was looking for it. And it shows up, I got my copy on Scribd, and it shows up like when you pull the book up before you open it, it says black and white. And once you open the book, you get the title page as Naughts and Crosses.
And is it N-O or N-A?
N-A.
Okay, because the original UK title is N-O.
Interesting.
And then, but in the US, we use the N-A spelling for not. So that's yeah. So it even says like previously titled Naughts and Crosses on mine. But if you look at people's reviews online from the UK of the UK version, they all write it N-O. Like that's how it's.
That explains why on their Facebook page, when I talked about it, I said N-A. When you talked about it, you had N-O. Like,
yes, exactly.
And I wonder, is this a? Let's see if I can find. I'm curious about whether or not they changed things to U.S. spellings in this particular edition.
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah. Oh, you mean in yours? I don't know.
Yeah, mine.
Black and white. Yeah, they definitely did. They may have even changed some of the names because I was looking at some reviews that were referring to characters by other names, but I don't know if that's just people can't remember what the character names are because that's also possible.
What, like Maggie for Maggie?
I don't. Let me look.
I guess I could just do a search for it. Yeah. Yeah, they well, I can just look at the quotation, the way they use quotation marks. So it says Naughts and Crosses, and the quotation marks are U.S. quotation marks.
Okay.
So, just interesting how much. Like, so they originally published it in the U.S. with the original title, and then they changed it. Because why go through the whole process of calling it Naughts with an A?
Yeah.
And then changing it to black and white.
Right. Well, I guess they figured that was Americanizing it enough the first time when they changed it to the American spelling, and then they were like, wait, still nobody knows what Naughts and Crosses is. We better come up with another title.
It could be, and it makes me wonder too. And I wish I could like pull Amazon data, but Amazon is so like tight with their data. Yeah. How many copies Naughts and Crosses sold versus how many copies black and white sold?
Right. Yeah.
Interesting thing. Sometimes I wonder if publishers don't trust us as readers.
Yeah.
Why they make these changes.
I think I would maybe be more inclined to say that if they had changed it initially, if they had just been like, oh, we can't possibly publish it that way in the US. But if they initially published it with the original title and then it didn't, then they had to change it, I would assume it's because it didn't sell.
And I got a notification, but I don't know what it was. It probably was all important. Okay, let's see if my questions have loaded finally. Interesting. They are kind of basic. I like there's so much meat in this book, and
that's the best
those are the questions they come up with.
Yeah, we can come up with our own discussion topics.
Yeah, we can. So initial thoughts. What do you think?
I wanted to like the book so much more than I did. Like I liked the premise so much, and then I was just like I couldn't get past the like soap opera-ness of the plot, and like the dialogue was just so, I don't know, just like awkward and full of cliches sometimes, and like I was just like, and like I wish, I mean, I don't know what her intention in writing it was, but, and we can talk more about this, but I feel like if her intention was to help white readers better understand what it's like to face racism, I wish that she hadn't based everything off like a kind of 1960s America, because I feel like that makes it way easier for the modern reader to be like, oh, but that's not what it's like today. Like, we don't have those problems anymore, you know? So she kind of missed that opportunity, I felt like. And I was like, oh, you could have done so much with this. And then it was just like so like drama filled and like not what I was hoping out of it. I don't know. So, I mean, I liked it enough to like keep reading, and the plot kept me interested, but I was also like, okay, really? Like this, you know, like your sister is insane, and then suddenly she's sane, and then she kills herself, and then your friend's father has an illegitimate child within the space of like 10 pages. It's like, wait, what? Hold on. Like, too many things going on.
Yeah.
So that was my reaction to the book.
You know, on my first reading, I had a really hard time getting into it. The writing was like, it didn't feel natural to me.
Yeah.
And I almost put it down. And like you, I like the idea.
Right.
It's a fantastic idea. But at some points I felt like she was being way too didactic. And
yes.
I'm like,
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it, and I get what you're trying to say, but you don't have to like assume that your reader has some kind of experience, and don't bang people over the head with it.
Right. Yes.
So I think on my second reading I was a lot more critical than I was on my first reading.
That was your less critical reading the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. This time I listened to the audiobook.
Okay.
Mostly did the audiobook. And I think that made a difference as well, because I couldn't skip over things.
Yeah.
That were irritating. It's like, okay, so you said this already, so I'm just gonna flip a couple of pages and start again. And no, you can't do that with audiobooks. It doesn't work.
Yep.
So that, and I've learned a lot more about the complexities of discrimination and intersectionalities and all of that. And so in my second reading, I'm like, this is also surface.
Yes. Yes.
One, it's all surface, and two, you really had to go the terrorist route, because that is not going to help.
Exactly. Yeah. It was. Yeah. It was. Yeah. I just. It was like she took like the most explosive period, maybe you could argue, in America's history of civil rights and race relations, and based her like flipped world on that. And I'm like, that is the like least nuanced approach you could possibly take to this premise.
Mm-hmm.
Is to go where there's, you know, the Black Panthers and the violence, and then the like non-violence, and then the segregation and the school integration and all of the things that like okay, like that's important to learn about that, but like you can learn about that and not have to go through this whole like let's imagine a different world, because if you're gonna go imagine a different world, you might as well go a little bit subtler and help us understand some of the issues that are still prevalent today.
Mm-hmm. When was this written?
I looked it up. I can't remember now.
Because I apparently do not have a copyright page.
My copyright is 2001. I don't know if that's for the American version or.
Okay.
Let me see. Yeah, it says first published 2001.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Just because it's like for a 2015 audience, it's got like, okay, well, so if we think about all of the things that have been happening with like law enforcement and on college campuses and things like that. You put it into a 2015 context, it'd be like, oh, hey, look, this is what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And then you just have ignorant people running around scared.
Yeah.
I agree. Subtlety.
Yeah.
Would have been a lot more fantastic.
Right. Yeah, the world building was a little too, I don't know. It was weird because like she intentionally included historical figures that actually existed in our world, but then tried to somehow mesh that with a world in which there had only ever been white people in slavery. Mm-hmm. But it seemed like the book was set in the United States, but they didn't actually have a setting, but it was like basically the exact history of the United States, but reversed as far as I could tell.
And I think that's interesting too, is it with a UK author doing that. What's that? So I think it's interesting a UK author doing that, because I don't know what the history of race relationships in Britain is, because I mean there's something there. But. Right, exactly. But it was clear that at least it was clear to me that it was intended to be based on the United States, because they even had like the Martin Luther King Jr. and the Malcolm X figure that were the Naughts, which were like the only two historical figures that had different names. Because apparently we had exactly the same history except for having different races. Well, interestingly, here's a comparison I think could be used to see how much better it could be done. There's a program, I think it's an Amazon program, called The Man in the High Castle. Okay. Based on the book by Philip K. Dick. And while I've heard that the in the book it's rather shallow, in the program it's really complex. So Germany wins the war, they give half of the US to Japan, like the West Coast to Japan, and there's a neutral zone, and then the entire eastern half of the United States is controlled by the Reich. Okay. And it is so very complex, and it's not, I mean, it's heavy. It's heavy, and it's like you don't know the motivations of the characters and why they do the things they do and why they're making the decisions they make, and it's like revealed slowly, and you're not smacked on the head with anything. Yeah. And if this had been done that way, and minus the terrorism piece, could have been so much more powerful. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, once it started going down that road, I was like, oh, this is like Blackout, that other terrible book that we had. I remember that. I would say how many nope, you know what, I'm not gonna go down that road. I hope that our next choice is solid, which is to say, never mind. We'll get that at the end. Okay. So technically, we've already tackled the first question: is the alternative reality Malorie Blackman has created believable? Why or why not? Yeah, not particularly. I mean, it's believable in the sense that it's based very literally on actual events, but not believable in the sense that everything would be exactly the same, except that people would be different colors than they were in those historical events. Like, yeah, I don't know. She didn't go very far in reimagining. No. I think, and I was thinking about, well, Tracy and I had a conversation last night about just the nuance of relationships within like culture. So like my sister is significantly lighter than I am, and how we walk through the world differently because she is lighter and I am darker, and especially during marching band season when I got like really, really dark. and how things are different. Like there's so much nuance.
Yeah.
That wasn't addressed.
Yeah, and that in particular was actually something I was wondering about in this world, because it's never really addressed except for that one conversation he has with his teacher, where he's like, "Oh, you're half not because you're lighter," and like, yeah, I just think about how in actual history, like if you had any distinguishable Black heritage, like you were lumped in with the Blacks. But here it was like, he's like, oh, people are all different shades. Like not everyone is that dark Black. So like clearly a lot of people have this not ancestry, but that doesn't seem to really affect their standing in the society at all. Which I was like, why you could have done more with that, because that was part of our history.
Well, yeah, and the conversation about passing privilege is like is a big conversation.
Yeah, and again, there was a passing reference to that where it was like, oh, that guy could pay for skin darkening, like that guy who saw at a party, and like that was the only reference we get. It's like, oh, this is a thing in our world, just like, but no other explanation and no reflection on it or anything.
I think this is
like, because it's super dark in here. Oh. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just looking at the second question, and then I snickered.
Would you want to... implying that there...
Yeah, who wrote these questions?
I don't know.
Would you like to live in a world like this one, separated by Naughts Crosses?
Would you like to live in a world where people have differential power based on their skin color? Because that's never happened before.
Right. And we're not still having those same conversations. We live in a post-racial society because, you know, we've got a Black president and all.
Yep.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Okay, well, touch that one. Who do you identify more with, Callum or Seffi? I did not like either of them very much.
I didn't either.
I didn't really understand why they did the things that they did a lot of times. Other than they were apparently living in a soap opera, which is like... Well,
yeah. I felt like Seffi was sometimes willfully ignorant.
Yeah.
Like, clear. I mean, I get, because I teach teenagers, I get that teenagers have difficulty sometimes thinking about the consequences of their actions.
Right. Yeah.
But, I mean, if you exist in this world and this guy has been your friend since, like, from jump,
right,
you've got to be more aware of the differences in power and the effects of your actions. And seriously, she thought he would go up into the school and not have problems.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, like I understand the idea that, like, oh, you're my friend, and like, so therefore I don't see color, and so, you know, everything's gonna be fine. Blah.
I rolled my eyes. I don't know if anybody could see that.
No, I saw that. That was intended to prep for but still, you live in this world. Like, you have to see, even if not in your own friendship, like, you have to see in the world. Especially, I mean, I can understand, not that I can understand, but like, I know that there are white people today who are like, oh, like you said, it's post-racial, like there aren't any problems. But if you're talking about like when school integration first started, like that society, like, could you really have been a white person who was like, oh yeah, I'm sure it'll be totally cool, and these Black people come to our school and like no one will have any problems with it? Like, that is a little bit unrealistic.
Yeah. It's like, and she's the daughter of, like, I don't know, was he the prime minister? Some sort of head of state.
High up in government. I don't think he was prime minister. He was, some sort of minister.
Yeah, so how do you... when you've got all of the politics that like comes into your house. I mean, I realize her dad wasn't there that much, but still, the politics come into your house.
Literally, she overheard him having a conversation about trying to like stop the school integration, and then she still didn't think there was going to be any problem. She was just like, "Oh, I didn't realize my dad was like behind all this weird stuff. Oh well, not going to think about it anymore."
I think I have to discuss this book in facial expressions.
Yes.
I guess, honestly, I don't know.
I think it's a shame, especially given that she was basing this off very closely off historical events, that she didn't think that there would be enough of a plot without entering all of this, like, the suicides and the, like, illegitimate children and the, like, terrorism and, like, you don't need all of that to have a plot if this is your
Yeah. Yeah, too much and no depth. That is my assessment.
Yes. It's a shame.
Yeah. Like I will probably not read the other two.
Yeah. When you said you had the other two when we talked last time, I was like, then I was reading it and I was like, I don't like this. And I was like, I guess Eli really likes it because she's got the whole.
No, my friend sent me a box of books when she was college.
I'm glad because I was like, I'm gonna feel really bad if I'm like saying this is a terrible book and you're like, I love this book. I have the whole series.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, they were gifted to me.
Okay. Because I know a lot of people really like this book. Like it has very high ratings on Goodreads, and people are like in love with this book. And I'm just like, maybe you have to be a teenager to appreciate this level of drama and superficiality. I think
I actually rated it pretty high the first time I read it. I don't think I went back and changed it, but I'm like, I also think woke. I'm a lot more conscious now than I was the first time I read it. Because I engage in a lot more like independent Black media, and I hear these conversations, and I'm learning a lot of things about the experience that is not my experience because I live in a predominantly Hispanic area.
Yeah.
So, and I grew up, middle class. So, and I think much like Seffi in a way, I was shielded from a lot of like negative race relationship stuff. It got taken care of behind closed doors by my parents, which I didn't learn about until I was an adult. Mostly in regards to music.
Okay.
And but so much more. So there could be so much more.
Yeah. My baby.
What's he up to?
Okay. There's supposed to be like toxins in the air and stuff, so you might want to drive over.
Well, I am because I'm doing this.
Okay, good.
Toxins.
From the tanker explosion, yeah.
What tanker?
Did you miss all this?
I've been asleep.
Oh, yeah, there was a tanker explosion just down the river. They shut down the bridge.
What kind of tank?
It was full, I can't remember, something. They said there's toxins in the air and they don't want people to go outside for a while, so.
Shit.
Anyway.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was her excitement this morning. Opened the blinds because Carrie likes to look out the window, and I was like, "Oh, look, there's black smoke billowing across the river. What the hell is going on?" So.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. No, they got the fire put out pretty quickly, but
oh, that's good.
Whatever was in the things is now in the air. So.
Seriously?
Mike says, "Was the terrorism?"
Yeah, it was a bomb in a mall. in the trash can.
Yep.
Because that's the that's like the most effective place to blow up if you really want to make a statement. Just saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So, is there anything else you want to say? I think this is kind of quick.
What? Well, going back to what I was saying initially,
Okay.
like, you think Malorie Blackman wanted people to take away from this book?
Author's intentions. I hate this.
Yeah.
No, it's one we ask our students too, and they're like, you know what?
Because you know, normally it sometimes it's kind of irrelevant what they intended to get out of it, but in this case, like, she clearly was like you said, it was overly didactic at times, and there was clearly something that she was going for, but I'm not sure I know exactly.
Well, yeah, because this is like walk a mile in the shoes of oppressed people,
right?
I don't think it was overly effective, at least for today's audience. I think it's going to prove to scare more people than it is to really have to facilitate complex conversations about relationships and race relations.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, like, we can have those conversations, but does everybody who, I mean, the answer to this question is no. It's like, does everybody who engages with this text, you know, thinking about, okay, well, this is what she did, and here's how she could have done it better, and here are the things that just didn't work.
Yeah.
And it's the difference between reading with, if we go reading theory on it, with an efferent stance or an aesthetic stance. So aesthetic, and you're just like reading the story for the story, and it's not close reading, critical analyzation, or are we like looking at how these things can apply to our current situations, or what can we take from it? And I'm afraid too many people are going to take from it, we have to be scared of the Black people because they're going to blow shit up.
Well,
or in this case, we have to be afraid of Muslim people because they're going to blow shit up.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what the average reader is taking away from this, but I just looking over the reviews of some people who really loved the book, like, I think they got more of that aesthetic, just like, oh, it was so sad, and then like, oh, they were in love and then he died, and like, is that really like all you got out of this book? Like, that's all it made you think, was like, oh, it's sad that there's a love story and then he dies.
Go read freaking Romeo and Juliet.
So yeah, I don't know that she really succeeded in whatever it was that she hoped.
What's happening over there?
Sorry. the playpen is being collapsed so it can be transported over to our friend's house.
Okay. Anything else?
No. Katie.
Yeah, she still likes to sit on my shoulders.
I see that. That's cute.
This is a common occurrence. She's just gonna lay down and it'll be fine. Okay, so for next month, so far we've got 3 for The Left Hand of Darkness and 2 for The Martian.
Yes.
I
would be happy with you there.
Okay, so
I've not read The Martian, but it's been a long time since I read The Left Hand of Darkness, so.
Was it good?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Like, it was that long ago that it would be like a new read to me, so.
Okay.
So that's fine.
Do we want to wait a little bit, or do we want to go ahead and call it?
Let's wait a little bit.
Okay, we can do that.
Few days ago.
Yeah, Yeah, I had my comprehensive exam for university this week, so spent
Cool.
all of
Yep. I remember those, yeah.
It's like what this is 2015, so 5 years of university. Did you learn the things that you needed to learn so that you can start your dissertation? Which apparently I have, so that's good.
Good job.
All right, so
So maybe end of this week.
yeah, I'll put a note in my schedule to call it this week.
Sounds
the end
good.
of the week. All right, so I'm gonna stop the broadcast. Woohoo!